Good morning, everybody.
guys.
Good. Oh, go on.
I
Sorry,
think we started. Yeah, sorry, we have started.
I
Go
thought
on.
we had. I thought we
Yeah.
had. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Chew. It's Tuesday morning. It's time to chew over something. So, I'm Matthew Dashby Hughes, and this is Roy Johnson, and we're here from Sandler Training. What we're going to be talking about today, Roy?
So today we're going to be talking about Sandler Rule 42. And as soon as I heard the word 42, it got me all excited because my favourite book is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And we know that the answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. And here's Rule 42. A winner has alternatives. A loser has all their eggs in one basket. You know, we did a little bit of political correctness and changed some of these pronouns earlier to this, but are we allowed to say loser anymore? Or is it non-winner? Or how do,
I don't think you can be too politically correct when you're dealing with a meritocracy. And ultimately, winner and loser does kind of imply merit rather than anything else. Effort, intentional design of your own future, having a grip of your own success, those sorts of things. So, I think we can be all right with winner and loser.
okay. Well, that's quite handy. So I've got to ask the first thing. I'm looking at this screen and I'm seeing a lag. Are you seeing a lag?
I'm seeing a lag.
I'm going to jump out and jump back in. Let's just.
All right. Let's keep on talking about winners have alternatives and losers have all their eggs in one basket. So, what does that even mean? And specifically, let's talk about what it even means in the world of sales and sales success, because this is about how you drive the growth of your business through putting more potential business in at the top of the pipeline and at the top of the funnel, intentionally controlling the meetings that you have in order to be able to work out whether or not there's a reason for you to do business. And there might not be. That's okay. It's not about trying to coerce anybody into doing something that's against their best interests or anything else. This is an equal business stature, ethical selling system. And then moving them into the pipeline to the point where if there is business to be done and it's to both of your benefit, and as I say, it is equal business stature here, then you actually end up with the right business being done at the end of the end of the equation. So, what do those alternatives look like? So, Roy, we talk about prospecting for choice. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay. It looks like I've still got a lag in here as well, so it must be internet at my end. Maybe I should have rebooted it like you did before. I'm hoping the voice is coming out before the words. In fact, I'll just let's take the picture out.
There we go. Okay, so he's lost his picture now. But yes, prospecting for choice. This is where you should never play with children, animals, or technology, because they can all play around with you. But at least it proves it's live, doesn't it? So the idea of the idea of prospecting for choice. Roy, are you able to kind of comment a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, we actually in Mastery this morning, where a group of us get together and delve into the depths of sales. We was talking about when we're looking at our business, the first thing that we have to do is dream. And dreaming is understanding what our world looks like when we've knocked our goals out the park. And quite often there's a lot of goals. You know, we talk about businesses. What are your wow goals? What are your big, hairy, audacious goals? Lots of people talk about goals. They don't talk so much about, the hard yards you've got to put in to get the goals. And I guess it all starts with, what do you want your life to look like? Because we only have one go in this world. So at the end of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, the end of your career. It was a real shocker the other day. I spotted on LinkedIn, a guy I studied with has just retired this week. I think that's the first one. Um, when you're sort of looking at your life and you've hit all your goals, what does it look like? And what sort of business do you have to have in order to deliver what you want your life to look like? And ultimately, a successful business, many cases, it's turnover, the amount of business, that we get there, but how do we get that business? And what we're talking is the leading and lagging behaviours that people can look at, which can sometimes lead to great success or abject poverty. Can you just explain what leading and lagging indicators are? Maybe this is a good place while I just play with my tech again.
That's a really, really good point. You know, a lot of businesses, a lot of business people, they tend to manage themselves on their results, and that's not necessarily untoward. You know, you tend to think, well, okay, if I'm going to be successful, it's all about pound notes, right? It's all about the pound coins at the end of the day. So, you know, if you're aiming towards that, that's a lagging indicator, because your results are typically the things that we see in the rear view mirror. They're the things that you can only measure in retrospect, in hindsight. The key thing here is the behaviors, the things that your day-to-day actions that you would take in order to achieve those results, if you do them consistently, intentionally, replicably. So things like your prospecting activities, things like the discovery meetings that you might do, networking meetings you turn up to, one-to-ones that you have, maybe calls that you make, those sorts of behaviors that you would do consistently in order to be able to lead towards the actual results that you're looking for. So the thing is, start with the end in mind, as you rightly say. Start with the results that you want, start with the goals that you're aiming for, but then work backwards from there. Say, what is it that I need to do in order to achieve those results? And then focus on that. Stop focusing on the outcomes and start focusing just purely on the things that you actually want to achieve, the things that you're aiming for, the actual, the day-to-day, if you like, the things you actually have to do. I don't know if is my image reversed, by the way.
Your image looks reversed here, yes.
Yeah. I think I need to switch that around. So there you go. But technology is not working for us today, is it?
It's not doing the right thing. It's certainly me switching off and starting up again isn't working out, and I can't jump out, otherwise it'll kill the stream. So we'll just continue on. We'll fight with it.
How's that? Is that any better? There you go. That's what I meant. That's what it's meant to look like.
Aha.
There you go. Look at that. It was a relatively easy fix, that one.
Oh, happy days. And I think that's great. As you can see there, we've got our lagging indicator is the sales, and this is I guess the challenge in sales. When we sell, it's because we're sales geniuses, and when we don't sell, it's because the prospects are nutter. And it's somewhere in between is probably right, but rarely are we sales geniuses. And the leading behaviors that we get involved with allows us to course correct and understand. And I think with the leading behaviors and as you mentioned, you know, the calls, just put that screen up again, that picture up again.
Yeah, by all means, no problem at all. So there you go.
So each one of those are actions, things we have to do. And for us, it is the actions that lead to results. The results are just examples, or the results is evidence of good behaviors. And when we're talking about winners having alternatives, winners track the sort of the leading behaviors that they're doing, and they can course correct. And also, if they are doing enough of the right behaviors, and it varies for each of us, we can then he will then have, or they will then have a prospecting pipeline, which makes sense, is fully and properly qualified. And it means that if one does go astray, they don't have to get desperate. They can just continue course correcting, and they see things happening earlier. And I think it's probably never happened to anyone out there where they were relying on an order to come through, and then it didn't, and then it's panic stations, and that's the worst feeling. I've been it, you know. My quarterly commission is based on this order coming through, and then it didn't. Oh, heartbroken.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a story?
Please do.
It's so when I was young, I used to sort of swap cars like there was no tomorrow, and then I get a car and polish it up, put a bit of plastic padding in there, fill it round, make it look a little bit better, and flog it for a little bit more money. And at that time there was no internet. I mean, color TV had just hit, and we used to have sound like BBC in color, spelled correctly with a U in there. Um, but I put in the Evening Sentinel, the Staffordshire Evening Sentinel, car for sale, and people would ring up, and I say, "You come at 6." And the next guy come at 6:15, the next one at 6:30, the next one at 7:15. And I get 4 or 5 calls. And then the first person to turn up at 6 o'clock and go, "Would you accept 50 quid less? Or would you accept 100 quid less? Or would you accept 250 quid less?" And then the little demons on my shoulder were sort of shouting at me, "What happens if the next guy doesn't come? What happens if the next person doesn't come? I'm left with this. I've got to put another advert in the paper." And you accept less than you're worth because you have no alternatives. So I changed what I was doing to actually get everyone here at 6 o'clock. And it's amazing when you've got 4 cars lined up with people wanting to buy a car, and the guy at the front of the queue says, "Will you accept 50 quid less or 100 quid less?" And you look over the shoulders, I got actually all of those. And I invariably got my price at that point because I wasn't that desperate. And not relying on one source is a good trait. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, not only have you got practically more choice, but psychologically you've got the safety, the confidence of knowing that that choice is there. And that's really what prospecting can do for you. If you've got plenty of options, then it means that you don't end up settling for something where maybe you shouldn't have done that business. Because I'm sure it's never happened to too many people who are watching, but certainly I know a few people, maybe I've even been guilty of it myself in the past, where you end up taking on business and then regretting it, because either maybe you weren't the best fit, if you were being really honest, maybe you weren't the best person to support that client with their needs, or maybe actually they were a client who, all things being equal, you probably wouldn't have accepted because the way they do business is not really congruent with the way you do business, or maybe their values aren't your values, or maybe actually you just don't like them very much. I mean, I don't want to be horrible, but not everybody's for everybody, right? So if you've got choice, if you've got plenty of things going on in the pipeline, then you can actually grow your business in a way that's intentional. That means that actually you're taking on the right sorts of business. It's profitable, it fits with your values, it fits with the kind of business you want to do, and it means you're doing good and meaningful work and you're making money doing it. And generally speaking, you're a lot happier because you're working with people you actually want to work with. So I totally get that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I think it makes life a lot pleasanter as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you have a choice, you choose the people you want to work with, and I think what can happen is that we take what's presented in front of us, be the deal,
Mm.
and we end up being miserable.
Yeah.
And again, we've only got one innings here, right?
Absolutely.
And I think being miserable while you're working is it's just not right. And I think what a winner does is they give themselves choices by the leading behaviors that they do. I mean, when I look at, we were talking this morning in Mastery about cookbook, the things that we have to do, how many calls to strangers we have to make a week, how many LinkedIn outreaches we have to make a week, how many networking meetings do we have to go to a week. In fact, when I finish this, I've only got one set up networking meeting this week. So I'm
Mm.
going to another one after this just to get my 2 in. I have to get 2 in a week. Otherwise, I get twitchy. And just go and meet some strangers and have a conversation. And once you do these things, this mix, because it's all about prospecting mix. When you do the mix, any sort of, there isn't one failure mode. And
Mm.
certainly as an engineer, I was always interested in what could the failure mode here be. And we try to avoid that. So there's never the one failure mode in sales, because what we're trying to do is manufacture a great business, and that's really what our leading behaviors will do. Oh, we've got some comments here. Hang on, let's put some
Well,
comments on this.
you're just about to pull this up. I'd just like to pick up on two things that you just said. The first
Yeah.
thing is you referred to cookbook, and it was a very, very quickly slipped by there. Just for the benefit of the people who are watching, if you haven't done Sandler, one of the things we talk about within Sandler is a cookbook for success. So just like a cookbook, when you're in the kitchen, it's a recipe. And these are the steps that you follow in the order that you follow them, the ingredients that you use in the quantity that you use them in order to be able to produce a specific meal, the thing that you want to eat. So it's a way of deliberately designing the end results that you're looking for through the steps that you follow. So it's a metaphor, obviously.
Sure.
So the kinds of things we're talking about, the recipe, the ingredients in this case would be the kind of cold calls you make, the kind of LinkedIn activity you do, the kinds of ways in which you start unique, effective conversations with strangers, the way that you ethically approach these things, the way in which you try to draw out what's actually going on in somebody's world, see whether or not there's actually a fit between you and them, all those sorts of behaviors. That's what we're talking about when we talk about cookbook. So that was a really sort of critical thing just to pick up on, because I think it kind of potentially slipped by otherwise.
Should I put up on the screen a picture of this morning's board on just a simple cookbook? Would that make sense? Would that help?
If it would be helpful at this juncture, yeah, sure, by all means.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get rid of that. Let's see if the tech works, and if it doesn't, oh man.
It's dangerous.
Let's see what we've got there. It is dangerous. You're absolutely right. There we go. Hopefully something's happening here. And it's dangerous because I've plugged the wrong one in. Oh man. There we go.
It looks fantastic. Is this a whiteboard at night, or right, there we go. Right, okay.
There we go. There we go. It's got some words in the middle. But we can see here as we look on the left hand side, the leading behaviors: cold calls, networking, LinkedIn per month, and what these things lead to. And we've got discovery meetings for cold calls, discovery meetings for networking, discovery meetings from LinkedIn outreach, and then we've got how many discovery meetings lead to close meetings? We make 280 calls. We might get 28 discovery meetings, 14 close meetings. We might get 7 quotes from there, which will help us get towards our 4 orders that we were looking for. And each one of those activities, if we build up the activities, the prospecting activities, there's no single failure mode. But the beauty of it is when you can capture the statistics of where you are, you can then potentially look at which bit needs to be fixed. If we're doing 280 calls and getting no discovery meetings, well, there's something going wrong in the calls.
Sure.
If we're getting lots of discovery meetings and no close meetings, well, what's going wrong there? And we can laser focus in to where the problems are. And I think this is really for us when a winner has a plan. And there we go. When a winner has a plan, they can course correct. And I think that's really the point of just showing that bit. Let's get James up. So James says he gets this a lot. And I think it was is that working with people you don't want to work for, or just getting desperate? I don't remember what the point was at the time.
I think it popped up when we were talking about having these calls with people who then kind of mess you around, and they want to chip your price and all that kind of thing. So very similar to what you were talking about with the with the car scenario when you were selling your cars through the Evening Sentinel, the old Potter's Liar, as it was known. So yeah, I think that was kind of where he was coming from with that, which is not unusual, right? I mean, people tend to sort of try and do business based on the wrong things, and they tend to do it with this kind of sense of master and slave. Like, I've got the money, you've got the service, therefore I'm in charge because I've got the money. It's the golden rule. The man with the gold makes the rules. Whereas actually the reality is that in this case, gold's a commodity. You've got gold, but you've also got a problem. I've got the solution to the problem. That actually makes us equal. So in the great weighing scales of life, we now have equal business stature, don't we? So let's have a more equal conversation. That's much easier to attain that kind of equal conversation if you have that walk away presence. I want your business, and I'm not being arrogant, but I actually need your business. I want it, and I'm happy to work with you in the right way. In the right way. And that means that we stay as equals. There has to be mutuality of respect. And they've got walkaway presence as well. They don't have to do business with me. They might think I'm an arse, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's all right. There's 8 billion people on this planet, nearest damn it. Not every single one of them's going to like me. I'm cool with that. So,
well, I get that from my point of view, but everyone loves you, Matthew. It's a pain. It's a pain in the backside. But
no, trust me, there are people that don't like me, and frankly, that reflects well on me, because there's certain people I don't want to like me.
Okay, so yeah, and I guess it was great. I'm trying to do a picture, but I can see a terrible lag on here, and I don't know how to fix it because you're looking perfect, as usual. But when we look about solution and problem, I think what we need to recognise, we need to have confidence is that they've got the problem, we've got the solution. We can walk away, and what?
Sorry, James has just put "he's all right" in the comments. I think it's a reference to what you just said.
Yeah, he's all right. Barely. Yeah. They put me off my line. Oh no, here we go. We can. The thing is, we can walk away with our solution, and they will still have the problem, and we need to recognise. This. What have we got here? We've got so from Danny. Thank you, Danny. Ethical business. Purpose, choosing who to work with is vital. Sacrificing these is a remedy for short-termism and failure. Can we just talk about what he said there? Because this is a particular hobby horse of mine. And the hobby horse is, we speak to a lot of people, and you say, how are you doing? They go, I'm busy. And they're on their arse, and they're not making the life that they want, and they've actually bought themselves a job. And what they do is they have this view that if I don't take this one, another one might not turn up, because they've got no leading behaviors to back that up. So they take whatever's coming, they discount and go in at the lowest price, and they end up working really, really hard with their superior services, superior skills, superior experience, and it never quite works out, and it's a tragedy that they can't choose who they work for, because they're doing the stuff from things they've had to take that doesn't yield them much in the way of profitability. It doesn't give them the life that they want. And I think that's beautifully put, Danny. Every time he puts something, I like him more and more. And I started at a low base, but sacrificing these is a remedy for short-termism and failure. As I see what he's saying. So what we got here, he's all right. I'm not even putting that up. A recipe. There we go. A recipe. I'm just looking at it. Yeah, a recipe. There you go. He has damn autocorrect. There we go. Don't swear at the tech. That's like right. I am at the moment.
That's it. Yeah, spot on, James. Absolutely, busy fools. And you see it, don't you? And we've all been there when we first start businesses, and we think we need to be in it to win it. We've got to. It's all about price in our game. It's all about price. And you hear this from people where they've convinced themselves that actually it's a race to the bottom, and that's the only way they can do business. So they lurch from one high maintenance, low value client to the next, wondering why it is that they're working 16 hours a day and making no bloody money. And why it is that they sort of are a stranger in their own homes, and why it is that their kids have forgotten what their names are. But it's okay, because they're an entrepreneur. They're doing great things. Yeah, no, are you really?
And that's absolutely true. Working long hours, as if it's a badge of honor. And we both like a bit of Pink Floyd. And Matthew reminded me this weekend that Pink Floyd have released a remix. And there's a track there called "Dogs in Animals," and you've got this. They talk about this guy who's been found dead on the phone. And it just feels sometimes like it's my life. It's working too hard. Need to get the behaviors better, right?
I actually thought you were going to go for a different line. I thought you were going to go, then one day you find that 10 years have got behind you. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. I thought that was where you were going with that one, but there you go.
Yeah, but that's not dogs.
No,
So,
no,
but
that's
that is.
it's
You're
relevant.
absolutely right. No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. Good old Pink Floyd.
I know, absolutely.
Um,
Who needs
and
sound
it
the
is
rules?
one.
Your lyrics.
It should be a Sandler rule. But anyway, so back to where we were with our captions.
Mm,
Winners have alternatives. A loser has all their eggs in one basket. We're into our last 5 minutes of lousy tech.
mm.
Um, so let's just sum that up. How do we give people the winner status? How do we stop them being a loser?
I think the key thing here, and we highlighted it earlier on, is focus on your behaviors. What are the things that you are consistently doing day by day, by day by day, day in, day out, to be able to intentionally design your future results? Looking at the things that are effective in your world, and don't rely on one thing. If you've only got one type of prospecting in your prospecting mix or in your marketing mix, there is a very good chance that even if that's been working for you so far, it will have the law of diminishing returns kicking in. Things change, so don't just rely on one thing. If you are the cold call demon of the world and you're brilliant at it and you bang in 50 calls every single day, eventually that doesn't work all the time, and you get inconsistency, you get peaks and troughs. If you are good at doing that, but you don't do networking, maybe consider doing some networking as well. If you only do networking, maybe make a few phone calls. I don't know, just a crazy idea, right? If you only ever do LinkedIn and there's nothing else you do, well, again, LinkedIn will have peaks and troughs. The algorithm will change, things move away from you and towards you, and you can't always predict where it's going to go. So have a mix. So first thing is, for alternatives, have plenty of alternatives within your prospecting mix, things that work for you and work better when they work in concert. Don't just rely on emails. Rely on emails and voicemails and videos and all these other things, right? So there's plenty you can be doing from a prospecting point of view. The second thing is consistency. Making sure that you are putting plenty of things into the funnel, which may or may not turn into business, but actually plenty of people having those prospecting conversations, but lots of them. So you've got choices. So you can disqualify it for the right reasons. Because if there isn't a genuine reason to do business, and in your heart of hearts that actually what you should be doing is disqualifying and saying this is not right for me and it's not right for them, well, you feel a lot more comfortable doing that when you've got other options, when you've got other things in the pipeline. So the winner has alternatives, both in terms of the prospecting mix and in terms of the number of opportunities that prospecting mix is generating. When the loser comes along on the scene, the loser is basically grabbing hold of one thing like it's the last piece of driftwood on the tide, and they're floating along on that, clutching onto it, because otherwise they're going to drown. And that is the person who ultimately ain't going to succeed, because they're the people who are just relying on one thing and one thing only. And the chances of that going horribly wrong, well, you've left yourself really exposed. So, when somebody does then say to you, well, look, I need you to sharpen your pencil, because you're clutching onto this thing, you can't afford to let go of it. What are you going to do? You are going to end up sacrificing the value that actually you bring. You're going to lose the value that is commensurate with the value you bring to them. And it means you basically end up working for nothing, or worse, you end up working for less than nothing. And I've seen entrepreneurial people, great people, do this to themselves and self-sabotage massively.
I, I think it was beautifully set up there. Sabotage, and we meet great people all the time, and we look at them and go, why aren't you doing better? And it's a real pity. And I think as you said, the different types of prospecting approaches make a real difference. So today, before I started training on LinkedIn, making outreach connections and conversations. Got a couple of messages back from there. So there's someone for me to talk to. I'm going to a networking meeting in the next few minutes, which is my second it'll be one of two networking meetings this week. We do this. This is in fact a prospecting activity where we try and give some value to people that are watching, and people from time to time contact us about this. And this is a valid prospecting activity. So you've got to mix it all up, but then you can see what's giving you payback, what's giving you some value to make your business better. Now 10:45, and I'm still just I'm doing so. I don't know what's going on with my video. It says here I've got 10 out of 10 connection, but I'm cut off in a second. So Matthew, how do we contact you?
Well, if people want to get in contact with me, my contact details are scrolling past at the bottom of the screen right now, mdh@sandler.com, 07715 269 724. But Roy, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, there you go. There's my email scrolling around at a fair old rate of knots underneath. roy.johnson@sandler.com, 07 867 525 868. We're going to Let's Do Business soon. On the 20th of October. I'm also holding a session about how buyers buy, how to sell on Thursday at 2 o'clock. If anybody here wants to go, this Thursday, the 6th, at 2 o'clock. I'd love to see you there. Just put me on one of these mails or call me, and we're good to go.
It would be wrong of me not to mention I've actually got one space only left on my boot camp tomorrow. It's tomorrow. It's in Congleton. It's in person. It's 9:30 till 2:30. It's 200 quid plus VAT. You're going to learn about selling system, how to feel good about selling, a little bit about personal resilience and personal assertiveness as well. How to present yourself in a way that your value proposition comes across so that it actually gets heard and people stop hearing about price and they start hearing about value. All of those sorts of things that we've been talking about on the Tuesday Chew. There's only one place left, so if anybody wants it, first come, first served. You're going to have to convince me that it works for you and why you want to come. But without being arrogant, but there's a nice mix of people in that room, some good people that you want to be talking to as well. So there you go.
Fabulous. Well done. So we're good till next week. We'll find a subject for next week, and hopefully my tech's been great all morning. I've been training all morning, and then he just sits down on this. So hey ho, we're off ski. Say bye bye, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm actually off next week, so I'll see you in a fortnight's time.
See you in a fortnight. Take care. Bye bye. Have a good holiday.
See you. Cheers.